The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hello children, how are you? Hope you are healthy and happy. Be always happy and be always positive, dear children. Don't worry about tomorrow. You have to be always in the present. Always enjoy each and every moment of your life. But don't forget you are in 11th standard and 11th standard is the base for 12th standard. So work hard and be confident in getting marks in your examination. If you need any support, you can take the support of your teachers, take the blessings of your parents so that you can be confident and you will be positive in your life for doing any work which will make you happy throughout your life. By saying this, I move on to the next chapter in botany, and that is chapter 10, respiration. We know what is respiration, isn't it, my dear children, as we have studied in our previous class. Now little deep we will be going to understand about respiration in this chapter. The breaking of CC bonds of complex molecules, that is which is seen in the food through oxidation within the cells, leading to release of considerable amount of energy, is called respiration. So what is respiration? It is the breaking of CC bond which is seen in the food molecules, and it is been happening through oxidation within the cell, and when this oxidation process is taking place, that time lot of energy is released. That process is called respiration. Now as it has been said that oxidation process is taking place by breaking down the complex molecules. So we have to see which are those respiratory substrate. So what is respiratory substrate? First we should know. The compound that are oxidized during respiration are known as respiratory substrate. So what are respiratory substrate? These are the compounds which are oxidized during respiration. So the compounds which are undergoing oxidation process during respiration are known as respiratory substrates, and these compounds they are breaking down there during this process. Now which are those compounds? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats and organic acids can be used as respiratory substrates. Carbohydrate, proteins, fats as well as organic acids are used as respiratory substrate for breaking down, and when these substrates are broken down, lump sum amount of energy is released, and that process is known as respiration. Now features of respiration: it is a stepwise process, it is controlled by enzymes. So in the features of respiration it has been said that respiration is a stepwise process, and here this process is controlled by enzymes. The energy released is trapped as chemical energy in the form of ATP. The energy which is released during respiration process is the energy in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Respiration takes place in the cytoplasm and mitochondria. So in the cell there are two organelles, or there are two area where respiration is taking place. One is in the cell cytoplasm and the other is in the mitochondria. And for respiration, oxygen is utilized. Carbon dioxide, water and energy are the products. When respiration process is taking place, when oxygen is utilized, the product is in the form of carbon dioxide, water and energy. I think you would have understood about this respiration. Now you can come to the plant, where the question is, why plant can get along without respiratory organs? Plants don't have respiratory organs, isn't it? What is the reason behind it? We can see. Each plant part takes care of its own gas exchange needs. So, in the plant, the parts are there such as stem, root, leaf. These parts, they are taking care of themselves in relation with gas exchange, isn't it? That's why they don't need respiratory organs. Next point, plants do not present great demands for gas exchange. In the case of animals, gases exchange, or we can say gaseous exchange is taking place. A great demand is needed there in the case of animals, but in the case of plant, they do not need the great demand for gaseous exchange. That is why in the case of plant, respiratory organs are not needed. Third point, in the bark, lenticels are present. We know that in the tree, outer covering is there in the form of a hard part, and that is called bark. And in the bark area, we can see lens shaped structure, and that is called lenticels. And we know that lenticels are helping in gaseous exchange in the case of the tree, or we can say in the case of the stem. Most cells of plant have at least a part of their surface in contact with air. In most of the cells in plants, in that any part will be having the connection with the air, that is their surface is being connected with the air. For example, in the case of leaf, stomata is there which is helping in this exchange, and that is seen on the surface. In the case of stem, we can see lenticels. So, like this, in the case of plant, there are most of the cells. In this cells, the surface area of the cell is being connected with the air. So, I think you would have understood why plant does not require respiratory organs. That is important. Now, next, the following equation represents the reaction related to respiration. Glucose, which is formed there during photosynthesis, is combining with oxygen, and it's being broken down into water, carbon dioxide and energy. So, this energy is needed there for all the metabolic activity which is being conducted in the body of plant or animal. So, for the production of energy, glucose is being breaking down, and glucose is the form of carbohydrate, and here we can say carbohydrate is the main respiratory substrate which is being getting oxidized, that is in the presence of oxygen it is getting oxidized to get energy, or the product is energy. With the formation of energy, carbon dioxide and water is also released. This is the reaction related to respiration. Now, types of respiration. Depending upon the availability of oxygen, respiration is of two types. Number 1, aerobic respiration, and number 2, anaerobic respiration. We can see the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Already we know what is aerobic and what is anaerobic in our previous classes. We have studied and learned about it. Just we can see a glance related to aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In the case of aerobic, it takes place in the presence of oxygen. It takes place in the absence of oxygen, that is anaerobic. In the case of aerobic, complete oxidation of glucose is taking place, that is the glucose is being completely oxidizing. But in the case of anaerobic, the glucose molecule is incompletely oxidized. Here in the case of aerobic, end products are carbon dioxide and water. In the case of anaerobic, end products are either ethyl, alcohol or lactic acid and carbon dioxide. In the case of aerobic respiration, lot of energy is liberated, that is 38 ATP is formed there. In the case of anaerobic, relatively small energy is liberated, that is only 2 ATP is formed there. In the case of aerobic respiration, it occurs in plants and animal cell. In the case of anaerobic respiration, it occurs in many anaerobic bacteria and human muscle cells. And you can see the reaction related to aerobic respiration, where glucose is oxidizing in the presence of oxygen for the formation of lump sum amount of energy, and with that water and carbon dioxide is formed there. In the case of anaerobic respiration, you can see when glucose alone is getting oxidized, what is happening there? Ethanol, carbon dioxide and small amount of energy is formed there. So, this is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now, we can see the mechanism of respiration, in which we are going to understand about aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration. Number one is aerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? The process of aerobic respiration is completed in the following 3 steps. So, what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is the respiratory process which is taking place in the presence of oxygen, and it is being completed in 3 steps. Number 1 is glycolysis, number 2 is Krebs cycle, which is also known as tricarboxylic acid cycle, and number 3 electron transport chain or ETC. So, these are the 3 steps which is taking place in the aerobic respiration. It is very, very important. Now, the first one is glycolysis. Glycolysis, from the name itself we can say lysis means breaking down and glyco means glucose. So, glucose is been breaking down into the simplest form, and that is pyruvic acid. So, we have to understand how pyruvic acid is formed there by the breaking down of glucose through the process called glycolysis. It is also known as EMP pathway, and this EMP is the name which came from the name of the 3 scientists. Understood? Emden, Meyerhof, Parnas. Emden, Meyerhof, Parnas. This is the name of the 3 scientists. Based on them, the name came as EMP pathway. They discovered glycolysis. Now, we can see what is happening. Glycolysis is taking place in cytoplasm of the cell, and how it is being broken down we can see. Glucose which is formed there is being first converted to glucose 6-phosphate, where ATP is being converted to ADP. So, ATP is utilized there for the conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, and it is taking place in the presence of the enzyme hexokinase. Now, glucose 6-phosphate which is formed there is being converted to fructose 6-phosphate. It is isomer of glucose 6-phosphate, and this conversion is taking place in the presence of phosphohexose isomerase. Now, fructose 6-phosphate which is formed there is converted to fructose 1,6-biphosphate, where again ATP molecule is utilized, and here the enzyme is again phosphohexose isomerase, as fructose 1,6-biphosphate is isomer of fructose 6-phosphate. Now, fructose 1,6-biphosphate which is formed there is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in the presence of the enzyme aldolase. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate which is formed there can be converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and it can be converted into back to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So, here you can see the 2 arrows, and this 2 arrow indicates that this reaction is reversible reaction. Understood? So, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate which is being converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate can be converted back to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and from here what will happen? 2 reactions will be going together. From here the conversion will be taking place, and from here this conversion will be taking place like this. Now, we will be going to understand the conversion which is taking place in 2, here also as well as here also. Now, we can see this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or dihydroxyacetone phosphate will be converted to 1,3-biphosphoglycerate or 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid. In the conversion we can see NAD, 2 NAD plus is being utilized there for the formation of NADH2, and this 1,3-biphosphoglycerate which is formed here, it is also formed here also. This will be converted to 3-phosphoglycerate and here ATP molecule is formed there. Again this 3-phosphoglycerate which is formed here is also formed here also, and that will be getting converted to 2-phosphoglycerate, and this 2-phosphoglycerate it is being converted to phosphoenol pyruvate which is also formed here, and during this formation water is released there, and again the phosphoenol pyruvate which is formed there is converted to pyruvate, and there again ATP is formed here also, and ATP will be formed there. Now we can see the conversion of these things taking place in the presence of the enzymes. So as I told you, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate which is formed there, or dihydroxyacetone phosphate which is formed there. From that the next product is formed, that is 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, and this formation is taking place in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphodehydrogenase, and 1,3-biphosphoglycerate is again converted to 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of phosphoglycerate kinase, and 3-phosphoglycerate kinase, when it is converted to 2-phosphoglycerate kinase, you can see phosphoglycerate mutase is the enzyme which is doing this reaction. Now 2-phosphoglycerate which is formed there is being converted to phosphoenol pyruvate, and this is being taking place with the help of enzyme enolase, and phosphoenol pyruvate, when it is converted to pyruvic acid or pyruvate, it is taking place in the presence of pyruvate kinase. So these are the enzymes which are helping to convert the glucose to pyruvic acid, and you can see in 2 area ATP is utilized, and in 2 area ATP is produced, and in 1 area NADH2 is produced. So this is very important, as in the question paper based on the production as well as utilization of ATP used to come, and you have to answer to that question. So glycolysis is very important, my dear children. This step you have to understand and you have to learn it. It is very important in connection with the enzyme. I think you would have understood about glycolysis. Now you can see the result of glycolysis. The net outcome of glycolysis is 2 ATP molecule as well as 2 NADH molecule, and 1 NADH is equal to 3 ATP. So 2 NADH is equal to 2 into 3, that is 6 ATP, as it is said 1 NADH is equal to 3 ATP. So surely we can say 2 pyruvic acid is produced there, as I told you in the reaction there. This side also the reaction is taking place, this side, that side also same way this products will be formed there, and at last pyruvic acid is formed here. So we can say from the glycolysis process, pyruvic acid which is formed here is 1 plus 1, that is 2 pyruvic acid is formed there. So here it has been said 2 pyruvic acid molecules are formed there. Therefore the net gain of ATP in glycolysis is 2 plus 6, that is 8 ATP. So total gain of ATP molecule in the glycolysis process is 8 ATP. This is again very important, my dear children. Now next, fate of pyruvic acid. There are 2 major ways in which pyruvic acid is utilized. After the production of pyruvic acid from glycolysis, the pyruvic acid will be utilized in 2 ways. Number 1, in the aerobic respiration, where it will be moving into the Krebs cycle, and next one anaerobic respiration, where it will be moving into alcoholic fermentation or lactic acid fermentation. So, first one we can see related to aerobic respiration, where we already understood about the first process, that is glycolysis. Now, the second process is Krebs cycle or TCA cycle. This cycle is taking place in the matrix of mitochondria. In the matrix of mitochondria, Krebs cycle is taking place. I know you understood about it, because this Krebs cycle, about it we have already learned in 9th standard, isn't it? So, it will be easy for you to go through Krebs cycle. Now, we can see aerobic oxidation of pyruvic acid. From glycolysis, pyruvic acid is formed there, and this pyruvic acid is converted into acetyl-CoA before it is entering into Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. So, pyruvic acid directly will never enter into the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. It will be getting converted into acetyl-CoA, where the carbon dioxide is moving out and CoA is being joining with that, and here during this formation, that is during the formation of pyruvic acid to acetyl-CoA, NAD plus is converted to NADH plus. Okay. So, here the enzyme which is converting this reaction is pyruvate dehydrogenase. Pyruvate dehydrogenase is the enzyme which is converting this reaction, and this reaction is the link between glycolysis and Krebs cycle. Therefore, this reaction is also known as link reaction. It is forming the bridge between glycolysis and Krebs cycle. This small reaction which is taking place here, it is forming a bridge, or we can say it is forming a link between two processes, that is glycolysis and Krebs cycle. Therefore, this reaction is also known as link reaction. This is very, very important, my dear children. So, pyruvic acid is not directly participating in Krebs cycle, but it is converted to acetyl-CoA. Now, you can see during the formation of acetyl-CoA from pyruvic acid, two molecules of NADH are produced. We already know that two molecules of pyruvic acid is there. Surely, this two molecules of pyruvic acid will be going into the Krebs cycle, where two Krebs cycles will be running, or two Krebs cycles will be taking place in the mitochondria. So, that is why it has been said two molecules of NADH are produced. Thus, it results in the net gain of 6 ATP molecule, as we know that 1 NADH is equal to 3 ATP. That is 2 NADH into 3 is equal to 6 ATP. Now, acetyl-CoA which is formed there will enters the Krebs cycle. Thus, acetyl-CoA is connecting link between glycolysis and Krebs cycle. That is why that reaction is called link reaction. I think you would have understood, my dear children. Now, the next process related to aerobic respiration is Krebs cycle. Since citric acid is the first product, it is also known as citric acid cycle. As here citric acid is the first product which is formed there, therefore, this cycle is also known as citric acid cycle. Citric acid is a tricarboxylic acid, hence the cycle is also known as TCA cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. Citric acid is a tricarboxylic acid, therefore, this cycle is also known as TCA cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. You can see here already we know that this citric acid cycle is also known as Krebs cycle. I think you would have understood about, hence Krebs is a scientist who has discovered this cycle, therefore, the name came as Krebs cycle. I think you would have understood about it. Now, we can see the schematic representation of Krebs cycle. Already from the pyruvic acid which is formed there during glycolysis, this pyruvic acid enters into the citric acid in the form of acetyl-CoA, that is pyruvic acid is breaking down, is getting reduced into acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA will be entering into the Krebs cycle by joining with oxaloacetic acid. So, oxaloacetic acid is the primary acceptor of acetyl CoA, and when this primary acceptor is accepting the acetyl CoA, citric acid is formed there, which is the first product in the case of Krebs cycle, and this citric acid is converted to isocitric acid, and this isocitric acid is getting converted to alpha ketoglutaric acid. In the conversion, carbon dioxide is released there and NADH2 is formed there. Now, alpha ketoglutaric acid which is formed there is converted to succinyl CoA by joining the reduced CoA is being joining with this alpha ketoglutaric acid, and this will be converted to succinyl CoA. Again, when the formation of succinyl CoA is taking place, that time NADH2 is formed. Now, succinyl CoA which is being formed there is converted to succinic acid, and here the CoA is released and the formation of one GTP is taking place. GTP is equal to ATP, that is there, GTP is equal to ATP. Okay. Now, succinic acid which is being formed there is converted to fumaric acid, and in the formation of fumaric acid FADH2 is formed there, and fumaric acid which is formed there is converted to malic acid, and malic acid again converted to oxaloacetic acid, and this conversion, during this conversion NADH is converted to NAD plus, and this oxaloacetic acid is again ready to accept acetyl CoA. So, at a time 2 Krebs cycles are taking place in the matrix of mitochondria, my dear children. Never forget that thing, as we understood that during glycolysis 2 pyruvic acid, that is 2 molecule of pyruvic acid is formed there, and this from this 2 molecule of pyruvic acid 2 acetyl CoA will be formed there, and this 2 acetyl CoA will be entering into the Krebs cycle, where 2 cycle will be working together in the matrix of mitochondria. So, like this the Krebs cycle is taking place. I think you would have understood about it. The first product is citric acid which is converted to isocitric acid, then alpha ketoglutaric acid, then succinyl CoA, then succinic acid, fumaric acid, malic acid and oxaloacetic acid. This is how Krebs cycle is taking place in the matrix of mitochondria. It is again very, very important, my dear children. You have to understand where the formation of NADH2 and where is the formation of GTP and where is the formation of FADH2 and where NADH is utilized. All these areas are very, very important, because based on those things in the question paper question used to come. Now, next we can see the substrate level phosphorylation. In the process of Krebs cycle, substrate level phosphorylation is taking place. We can see what it is. The conversion of succinyl CoA to succinic acid produces a molecule of GTP. This is called substrate level phosphorylation, that is the formation of GTP which is taking place there is known as substrate level phosphorylation, and this GTP is converted to GDP with the synthesis of ATP from ADP. GTP is converted to GDP when ATP is synthesized from ADP. That is why it is called substrate level phosphorylation. It is very, very important, and this level phosphorylation is taking place in the Krebs cycle when succinyl CoA is converted to succinic acid. During this process GDP is converted to GTP. So, that is the substrate level phosphorylation, which is very, very important, my dear children. Okay. Now, we can see the cycle can be expressed in the following equation, that is summary of the equation related to Krebs cycle. We can see pyruvic acid that is acetyl CoA combining with 4 NAD plus ADP plus inorganic phosphate plus FAD plus 2 molecule of water will be giving 3 carbon dioxide plus 4 NADH plus 4 proton plus ATP plus FADH2. This is the complete summary of Krebs cycle. This is again important, my dear children. You have to go through it because this NADH, ATP as well as NAD plus and the FAD, all these are very important related to the formation of ATP as well as related to the utilization of ATP during the process of Krebs cycle, which used to come in the question paper. So, that is related to Krebs cycle. Now, we are going to understand about the third process taking place in the aerobic respiration, and that is electron transport system as well as oxidative phosphorylation. So, first we are going to understand about electron transport system. This is what is happening in the matrix, or we can say in the mitochondria, where the respiration process is taking place. During this process we can see what is happening. See here in the matrix more H plus ion is formed there, and in the intramembrane space the H plus ion is very less. So, what will happen? Proton gradient will be taking place, and because of that H plus ion will be transported to the intramembrane space, and when H plus ion has been transported, that time electrons are also transported, and these electrons are carried with the help of certain cytochrome chain, and when this cytochrome chain is carrying the electron from one complex to another complex, at last water is formed there, that is ETS. So, we can see how it is taking place. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 complexes which is seen in electron transport system, and the first complex is called NADH dehydrogenase complex. The second complex is known as succinate dehydrogenase complex. The third is known as ubiquinone cytochrome C oxidoreductase complex, and the fourth complex is cytochrome Fe3 plus oxidase complex. So, these are the 4 complexes which are working there for converting the H plus to water, and during that conversion lump sum amount of energy is produced there, and this amount of energy is utilized there in the formation of ATP molecule in complex number 5. So, we can understand now how it is happening. The NAD, which is the important compound, is getting reduced to NAD plus, and when it is getting reduced to NAD plus, H plus is formed there, isn't it? And this H plus is transported to intramembrane space, and when it has been transported, that time electron will be transported there, where this electron is being transported with the help of COQ, isn't it? That is ubiquinone, and this electron will be received by the second complex, that is ubiquinol cytochrome C oxidoreductase. The second complex will be receiving this electron. Now, here again FADH2, which is present there, the compound, this compound is again getting reduced, and when it is getting reduced, that time H plus from the matrix which is formed there is being taken to the intramembrane space, and during this transportation again the electron will be carried from complex number 2 to complex number 3, and from complex number 3 this electron is carried by the cytochrome C to complex number 4, and from there again what is happening, this electron which is reaching there will be again transported to back to the matrix, and that time which oxygen which is present here is being accepting the H plus, and this H plus will be combining with the oxygen to form water molecule. This is how water is formed there, and when water is formed there, that time lump sum amount of energy is also produced, which will be utilized in the formation of ATP molecule. So, this is what the electron transport system which is taking place in the matrix of mitochondria. I think you would have understood about ETS. Now, we can see these processes are required to release and utilize the energy stored in NADH2 and FADH2, that is electron transport system and oxidative phosphorylation, which are the processes they need. What they need, they are required to release and utilize the energy which is stored in the form of NADH2 and FADH2. Now, the release of energy occurs when they are oxidized through the electron transport system. NADH2 and FADH2, in them the energy is present there and it has to be released, and that time what is happening there, these two compounds they will be oxidized, and these are oxidized through electron transport system. Now, the electrons are passed on to O2, resulting in the formation of water. So, these electrons, when they are passing through the cytochrome chain and when they are reaching to the oxygen, that time the oxygen will be combining with the proton to form water. This reaction is called terminal oxidation. Water formed during terminal oxidation is called metabolic water. Ultimately, in complex 4, water is formed there and that water is called metabolic water. This is again important, my dear children. So, what is ETS? In the electron transport system, what is happening? NADH2 and FADH2, these two are the compounds when they will be oxidized, and when they are oxidized, lump sum amount of energy is released there, and during their oxidation process, what is happening there? Metabolic water is also formed there. I think you would have understood about ETS. Now, we can see little more in detail about ETS. Proton gradient is formed there, that is the first step. According to chemiosmotic theory, ETS is also known as chemiosmotic theory, which we have already studied in photosynthesis. Now, the same theory we are going to understand in the respiratory process also. So, according to chemiosmotic theory, during ETS, the oxidation of one molecule of NADH2 pushes 3 proton pairs into the intermitochondrial membrane space. So, oxidation of NADH2 will be pushing 3 proton pairs into the intermitochondrial membrane space. In the same manner, the oxidation of one molecule FADH2 pushes 2 proton pairs into the intermembrane space, and as a result, proton concentration increases in the intermembrane space compared to matrix. So, what is happening there? In the intermembrane space, the proton concentration will be increasing, and because of that, proton gradient is developed there. The difference in the proton concentration on the two sides of the system is called proton gradient. When the proton on two sides is different, that is they are not on in the equilibrium state, they are not in an equal state, we can say it is proton gradient. In this manner, proton gradient is taking place there. Now, next one is oxidative phosphorylation. When proton gradient is taking place, oxidative phosphorylation is taking place. The synthesis of ATP molecule through the electron transport system is called oxidative phosphorylation. ATP molecule is synthesized there through the transportation of electron as well as proton, and when this electron and proton are transported through electron transport system by the synthesis of ATP molecule, that is called oxidative phosphorylation. During this process, the protons are transported back to the matrix. The return of protons occurs through ATP synthetase, that is in complex 5, or we can say F0 F1 complex. ATP synthetase, which is seen there in complex 5, and that is also called F0 F1 complex. F0 F1 complex, it consists of two parts. F1, which is the headpiece, and it is a peripheral membrane protein complex which contain the site for the synthesis of ATP. So, F1 is the headpiece where the ATP synthesis is taking place, because here a membrane protein complex is present there, which is a site for the synthesis of ATP. So, that is F1 headpiece of F0 F1 complex, and number 2 is F0. It is an integral membrane protein complex that forms the channel through which the protons crosses the inner membrane. So, here you can see this is the structure of F0 F1 complex or particle, where you can see this part, this is F0, this base is F0, and here you can see this one is F1, this area is F1, and here we can see the ATP synthetase enzyme present. Now, when the proton molecule is being transported from this F0 to F1, and when this proton molecule is being crossing the F1, that time ATP synthetase enzyme is getting activated, and because of that ATP synthesis is taking place. This particle is also known as oxysome. Oxysomes, they are in the form of a tennis bat which are seen in the mitochondrial inner membrane space as well as in the matrix of the mitochondria. So, this is how ATP is synthesized during ETS. I think you would have understood about it. Now, you can see the passage of electrons through the F0 F1 complex results in the formation of ATP. Oxidation of 1 NADH2 through ETS produces 3 ATP molecule. So, oxidation of 1 FADH2 produces 2 ATP molecule. So, we can see the respiratory balance sheet. Glycolysis is producing 8 ATP. Pyruvic acid, when it is converted to acetyl-CoA, 6 ATP is produced, because NADH2 which is formed there, 1 NADH2 is giving 3 ATP. So, from 2 molecule of pyruvic acid, acetyl-CoA is produced there, surely 6 ATP molecule is formed there by the production of 2 NADH2. And citric acid cycle, when this is being taking place there in mitochondria, that time 24 ATP molecules are formed there. So, total it will be 8 plus 6 plus 24 is 38 ATP. So, this is the respiratory balance sheet, which is very important, my dear children, you have to understand it. Now, there is net gain of 38 ATP during aerobic respiration of 1 molecule of glucose. 1 molecule of glucose is being utilized there as a substrate, respiratory substrate. From the utilization or from the oxidation of 1 glucose molecule, 38 ATP is produced there. In most eukaryotic cells, 2 ATP molecules are required for the transportation of NADH, which is produced in glycolysis into the mitochondria. The NADH which is produced there in the glycolysis is being transported to the mitochondria for the transportation. 2 ATP molecule is utilized there. So, we can say the net gain of ATP in the respiratory process is 36 molecule. I think you would have understood about the aerobic respiration very nicely, my dear children. Now, we are going to understand about anaerobic respiration. It is an incomplete oxidation of glucose in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, if the glucose is getting oxidized, it will not completely getting oxidized, it will be oxidizing only incompletely. That process is called anaerobic respiration. Here pyruvic acid is converted into carbon dioxide and ethanol and it is taking place in 2 ways, or we can say alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. The first one we can see alcoholic fermentation. It is a type of anaerobic respiration in which ethanol and carbon dioxide are formed as an end product and it takes place in 2 steps. So, alcoholic fermentation is being taking place in 2 steps. Number 1, Pyruvic acid which is formed there is getting converted first into acetaldehyde in the presence of pyruvate decarboxylase enzyme. In the presence of pyruvate decarboxylase enzyme, pyruvic acid is converted to acetaldehyde. This is the first step of alcoholic fermentation, and this acetaldehyde which is formed there is again converted to ethanol in the presence of alcohol dehydrogenase, and during the formation of ethanol, NADH2 is converted to NAD plus, and during the formation of acetaldehyde, carbon dioxide is moving out. That is why it is called decarboxylase enzyme which is doing this process. Okay, I think you would have understood these two steps related to alcoholic fermentation. Once again I will repeat it. Pyruvic acid which is formed there during glycolysis is converted to acetaldehyde in the presence of pyruvate decarboxylase. This is the first step, and acetaldehyde is then converted to ethanol in the presence of alcohol dehydrogenase. In this manner, from pyruvic acid, ethanol is formed there. This is alcoholic fermentation. I think you would have understood about it, my dear children. It is very, very important. Number 2 is lactic acid fermentation. It is a type of fermentation in which the end product is lactic acid. Here you can see during the glycolysis, glucose is converted to 2-pyruvic acid, and this 2-pyruvic acid is converted to lactate or lactic acid in the presence of lactic acid dehydrogenase, where again NAD is regenerated. That is, the NADH which is formed during glycolysis is again getting converted to NAD plus. During lactic acid formation, this NAD plus is formed there in the presence of lactic acid dehydrogenase. So, we can say lactic acid fermentation is a type of fermentation where the product is lactic acid, that is pyruvic acid is converted to lactic acid in the presence of lactic acid dehydrogenase, and this anaerobic respiration is taking place in some bacteria as well as in animal cell. I think you would have understood. In animal cell means in the muscles of human being we can see the formation of lactic acid if oxygen is not available there. So, such type of formation we can see in bacteria as well as in animal cell. I think you would have understood about lactic acid fermentation, which is a process of anaerobic respiration. We can see now the major pathway of anaerobic respiration. We know that glucose is converted to pyruvic acid, isn't it? This is glycolysis process. Glucose is converted to pyruvic acid, where NAD plus is converted to NADH2. Now, this pyruvic acid, either it will be getting converted into lactic acid or it will be getting converted into ethanol plus carbon dioxide. When it is converted to lactic acid, NADH which is formed during glycolysis is again converted to NAD plus. In the same manner, pyruvic acid, when it is converted to ethanol plus carbon dioxide, that time we can see the NADH2 which is formed during glycolysis, again it is converted here in the form of NAD plus. So, this is the major pathway of anaerobic respiration. This is the major pathway of anaerobic respiration. I think you would have understood about anaerobic respiration very clearly, my dear children. You have to understand it, it is very, very important. Now, we can see the comparison between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Already we have seen before also. Here oxygen is used there, here oxygen is not used there. Here the products are carbon dioxide and water. In case of anaerobic respiration, lactic acid and alcohol are formed there. Here 38 ATP is produced there. In the case of anaerobic respiration, only 2 ATP is produced. This reaction or this respiration is controlled by enzyme. This respiration is also controlled by enzyme. Here CO2 always produced by the steps glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, Krebs cycle, electron transport system, isn't it? These are the process through which CO2 is produced there. In the case of anaerobic respiration, glycolysis is the only step there, and that is the process from where the lactic acid as well as alcohol is formed there. So, only glycolysis is the process through which the two products are formed there, but here carbon dioxide is always produced there from glycolysis, pyruvic acid oxidation, Krebs cycle, electron transport system. So, these are the processes taking place in aerobic respiration. Now, in aerobic respiration, we can say that it is seen in most organism. In the case of anaerobic respiration, it is seen only in bacteria, fungi and in the human body. In the human body, we can say lactic acid production is taking place, that is why it is been given as human body. So, this is the comparison between aerobic respiration and fermentation process, or we can say anaerobic respiration. Now, next topic is amphibolic pathway. Breaking down process within the living organism is called catabolism. Synthesis process is called anabolism. Both catabolism and anabolism is known as amphibolic pathway. So, what is amphibolic pathway? The catabolism and anabolism together is known as amphibolic pathway. What is catabolism? Catabolism is breaking down process, that is glucose is converted to energy plus carbon dioxide, that is breaking down process. And the synthesis process, we can say the formation of glucose from carbon dioxide and water, that is synthesis process. So, this is respiration and this is photosynthesis. Together it is called amphibolic pathway. Example, when fatty acid is used as a respiratory substrate, they are first broken down into acetyl-CoA. Fatty acid which are used there in respiratory substrate, first it is been converted to acetyl-CoA, but when the cell is in need of fatty acid, it is taken from respiratory pathway. So, this is what the amphibolic pathway. Here what is happening, catabolism process is taking place, in this case anabolism process is taking place, that is why it is called amphibolic pathway. Thus, respiratory pathway helps both in breakdown and synthesis of organic compound, so it is called amphibolic pathway. I think you would have understood about amphibolic pathway. Here you can see, before entering into respiration, carbohydrates are first converted into glucose. Other substrate can also be respired, but they do not enter into the pathway at first step. For example, fats needs to be broken down into glycerol and fatty acid first. Fatty acids need to be broken down into acetyl-CoA and then they can enter into the pathway. Similarly, glycerol converted into phosphoglyceraldehyde and then they can enter into the pathway. In protein, they are first broken down into amino acid and then they will be broken down into pyruvic acid and then they will be entering into the respiratory pathway. This is how the respiratory substrates, they are broken down there, but whenever they are needed there, they will be resynthesized back. That is why in the process of respiration, we can say amphibolic pathway is taking place there, that is breaking down process is taking place as well as the synthesis of the compound is also taking place there. So, here you can see fat is converted to fatty acid and glycerol, which is being converted to acetyl-CoA before entering into the Krebs cycle. Carbohydrate, which is a substrate, is converted to glucose and later on it is being converted to pyruvic acid, which is again getting converted to acetyl-CoA to enter into the Krebs cycle. And proteins, they are also acting as respiratory substrate in certain animals or organisms and they are first converted to amino acid. So, this is what the summary of amphibolic pathway is taking place. So, this is again important, my dear children. Now, we can come to the next topic, that is respiratory quotient, or it is also known as RQ. The RQ value varies with the nature of substrate being used for respiration. The RQ, that is respiratory quotient, it varies according to the nature of the substrate If the carbohydrate is used there, its nature will be different. Protein, when it is used there, its nature is different. So, we can say the RQ value varies with the nature of the substrate which is being used there for respiration. Understood? So, we can see the simplified equation for the aerobic respiration of the oleic acid which is used there for respiration, and this oleic acid is used as substrate. So, this is oleic acid which is used there as respiratory substrate when it is being oxidized in the presence of oxygen. 36 CO2 and 34 water is produced there. So, in this reaction you can see 36 carbon dioxide molecule are produced and 51 oxygen molecules are consumed there. So, the RQ value of this reaction, we can say as carbon dioxide produced by oxygen utilized. RQ is equal to carbon dioxide produced by oxygen utilized. So, here 36 carbon dioxide is produced by the utilization of 51 oxygen. So, when the division is been done, the result is 0.7. So, below 1 is the RQ value related to oleic acid, it is a protein. Okay, my dear children, this is one of the example of respiratory quotient. So, here you can see, here already we understood, here you can see the following table shows the RQ value for different classes of respiratory substrate when they are used as substrate in the aerobic respiration. Respiratory substrate glucose, when it is used there, the RQ value is 1, and fatty acid when it is used there, the RQ value is 0.7, and protein when it is used there, the RQ value is 0.9. So, oleic acid which is formed there is a fatty acid, and this fatty acid is giving 0.7 value, and protein when it is used there as a respiratory substrate, we can say that 0.9 is the RQ value. Understood? I think you would have understood about the RQ value. This is very, very important. RQ value is nothing, my dear children, it is a value of the respiratory substrate which is utilized there during the respiratory process. Here carbon dioxide production and oxygen utilization is being valued there, and based on that thing we will be getting the RQ value of each respiratory substrate which is used during respiratory process. It is very, very important. This part is important as glucose is giving the RQ value 1, fatty acid is giving the RQ value 0.7, and protein is giving the RQ value 0.9. You have to remember this, very, very important. I think you would have understood it very clearly. My dear children, go through the video many times, then only you will be understanding about this chapter, and here the chapter is getting over, and we will be meeting in the next class with a new chapter. My dear children, if you are having any problem with the chapter, please give me a call and you can come and meet me so that I can help you and I can support you with solving your problems related to the chapters which already I have taken through video class. Dear children, don't take any tension and be always positive in your life. By this, I am winding the session. We will be meeting in the next session with a new chapter. Till then, take care.